Emma Husar, good to see you. Why do you deserve to stay on as the candidate for Lindsay for Labor?
Well, Laura, I put my hand up a couple of years ago, plucked kind of out of obscurity. I'm a single mum and have been working hard in my community advocating for the things that matter. I've lived in Penrith my entire life and it was time to give back to the community that had already given me so much. So for the last 2.5, 3 years almost, I've absolutely championed my area, talked about things that are important to our local community, cost of living, tolls on the M4, getting local jobs for people so we're not having to have this commuter belt of people, which has always been a significant impost to living in the western suburbs. But not only that, we've pushed and pushed and pushed for funding for Nepean Hospital, and we won that fight, we won that battle. We forced the Liberals into giving us some money, and now we see the hospital is under redevelopment. But not only that, when you are from your community and you are a champion for your community, it's really easy for people to get behind you and to support you. So I have a lot of support out there from my local constituents. We've represented about 2,500 people in the last 2.5 years. People who have needed help waiting for their NDIS, people who have needed help with their pensions that have taken this government 6 and 8 and 12 months in some cases to actually process. People come into my office because they're dissatisfied with the state member asking for help. People come into my office because they sometimes don't know the difference between local government and federal government, and we've been able to help them. So we've worked really hard, my office, my team, myself, over the last 2.5 years to give the people in my community exactly what they deserve.
Well, how do you expect voters to believe all of that where your own party, the Labor Party, can't see the merits in what you're arguing?
Well, I think that I enjoy a lot of support from my colleagues, certainly here. And as I said, in August, when I stepped down amid a media circus or a media storm, that what happened to me was the work of a few people within the Labor Party, just a few bad seeds that think that they can wield around their power of 50 or 60 years ago.
Who were they?
Well, I had a disgruntled staff member who I'd fired, and he took his complaint to Fair Work, and it was thrown out. He was the only named person in this the Whelan assessment. But of course, the Whelan assessment cleared me and found no reason for me to resign or to lose my job. So when you talked about before,
Well, given that, Emma, who's thrown you under the bus here? Who in the party? Has it been the Labor Party machine in New South Wales or here federally?
I think that we saw some of the darker elements of the New South Wales branch potentially at play here. I did make the observation a couple of weeks back that until we've had women go through this party and be around for 70 or 80 years, like we've got the old boys club in there for the same length of time, that we're going to struggle to get people like me who are not a party apparatchik. I'm not a union official. I never had anything to do with the party. I came literally off the street as an advocate for my community, like fighting for the stuff that's really important. I never joined politics to play the game. I don't enjoy that part of it. I came here to stick up for and to give a voice to those women and those kids, to parents and to carers who need a decent NDIS. I came here to fight for education funding because I know how important that is for our next generation. I didn't come in here to play politics, and quite frankly, I still couldn't really give a brass razoo about playing politics. So
to be clear, you stood down earlier this year, but you've reneged on that. You want to put your...
Yeah, so look, I stepped down. There was a whole bunch of pressure being applied, and so in order for that to sort of end, it was seen as the only way to make it stop, and of course it didn't stop. And then once all these allegations were bathed in sunlight, which is the best disinfectant for this kind of garbage, it was like, well, what am I resigning for? Like, why would I step down? What is it here that has ended my career? And people were asking questions. The worst thing that came out of that was, you needed to go and do a management course. Well, I enrolled in one.
Well, have you formally put your name back in the ring? Have you formally pled your case? And what's been the response to you?
So I met with Kayla Minane and Mark Lennon 2 weeks ago, just to say, look, I want to recontest my seat. These allegations against me were not career-ending. I have a huge amount of support in my community and from the Labor Party locals who fought and worked really hard
what did they
to get
say?
me elected. They had some suggestions that, I could, continue with my study that I'd enrolled in. So one of the recommendations from Whelan was that I undertake a course of study, and I did that. And certainly having that time between sort of August and now to take some time away from the everyday stuff of my office, because on a 1.1% margin, I realised after having a little bit of a break just how busy I was and how things were being missed. We were still giving great service to our constituents and still giving great outcomes to those people, those 108,000 people.
But were you given any indication from Kayla Murnane 2 weeks ago that that could be an option, that you could rerun in Lindsay?
They were hoping to open nominations for the seat after this 2 weeks of sitting. My understanding is that I am still the endorsed candidate. I faced my pre-selection at the end of last year.
Yep.
So my understanding is that I wasn't disendorsed by the Candidate Review Committee.
Well, what about Diane Beamer? Because she's been identified as another candidate that is likely to be endorsed by New South Wales Labor. Did you know about this before it was printed?
No, I woke up this morning and there was a bunch of news reports, so I found out about it at the same time everybody else found out about it. That previously hadn't been floated, but of course...
It doesn't bode well for your continuation in this role, does it?
Look, I think that, the Labor Party in New South Wales have got a certain idea of how they want things to go, but I am here and I'm saying that I'm willing to put my hand up and to do the job that they asked me to do a couple of years ago when they first pre-selected me. Of course, during that pre-selection, no one ever thought that I could win the seat, and I think I surprised a lot of people during that election.
Do you have the backing of Bill Shorten then?
Bill has always supported me since I walked through this door. In fact, Bill was the one who initially asked me to run. Bill has always been a champion of mine.
Well, would you consider running as an independent in Lindsay? Is that how committed to the community you are?
I never joined politics to play the game of politics, so I've always wanted to stand up for my community and always fight for my community, for what's right for them and for what's right for the outcomes of the next generation of kids.
So it's the community
Western Sydney
over the Labor Party, in your view?
Look, I think that what's happened to me is pretty disappointing. It's just a couple of bad seeds in that party. When we are at our best, we do amazing things, and we've got some fabulous policies that are coming up to the next election. So it is my intention. I do want to recontest the seat as the Labor member, because I do think there are incredible things that we can achieve when we are working together.
But if you're not a Labor member for Lindsay,
Yep.
would you consider running as an independent?
I love my job, so I would consider doing whatever I need to do to stay there and to continue doing my job. There are people out there who rely on people like me who just understand what it's like to live in the real world. I didn't come through the machine. I wasn't born in the Labor Party stable out the back of somewhere. Certainly there have been the older elements of the party out there that, never supported me. They never supported my candidacy, and they, white-anted me and undermined me while I was there, which is fine. It's to each their own, which is disappointing, but I think it robs the community of a chance to have someone that actually understands.
Well, I guess maybe your constituents do want to know, because you do have some baggage in this role, fair or unfair. Have you had any self-reflection over the last couple of months? You're a single mother, you have 3 children, you've had a long family court battle. You've had these allegations put to you in your office. It's been a tough year.
Yeah. I think I lost about 6 months of my year when I look back at it. I spent a couple of days in hospital during this, the media maelstrom that kind of erupted around me. I think that, when I sat down and looked back over my diary about how much work I was doing and how much output we had, and sitting down, I've got a coach that now works with me in my office, and also invested some time and energy into a leadership course, which I received a distinction for the other day. P's and C's get degrees, but I'll take a distinction when I get one, about just sitting back and actually going, okay, well, this was really important, but I didn't put as much weight on it.
Has the juggle taken its toll then?
Has the what, sorry?
The juggle taken its toll in some ways?
Certainly there are things that I think that this parliament and we need to do better to support women like me who come in here with, with children. And we did a shoot this morning for all the women in this place that are 226 senators and MPs. There are 5 of us females under 40 in parliament. Now, I want to see myself reflected in the people that are making decisions about me and my kids. I want to see, policies that reflect things that are important to me. Yeah, sure, any job takes a toll on anybody, but certainly giving myself permission to have a break. I got into Lindsay after working, 14-hour days, and that I cracked my leg during the campaign and still kept fighting on. I didn't stop. And then, of course, got into the seat. It's a 1.1% margin. There is a level of anxiety that goes along with having a 1.1% margin, because you're like, I can't miss anything. If I miss something, and I upset a voter or I upset a group of people, I want to be re-elected because I love my job so much. I can't miss anything. So this drive for me to just get out there and to just be everything to everyone.
But also particular policy areas I know you've championed. The NDIS is one. Mitch, your son, does have autism. Is the NDIS a great relief for you? Have you used the NDIS?
Yeah. So I'm a consumer of the NDIS, if you like. He's a consumer, essentially. The NDIS is struggling right now, and I often have this conversation with people that I would much prefer to be ironing out the creases of that system than to not have it at all. So it's a bit of a bun fight when we are in office and when we get a chance to actually fund it properly and not use it as this battering ram and pitting one group of people in our community against the other group. Of course, the notion of the NDIS isn't new. It was originally Gough Whitlam who kind of championed this idea, which morphed then into Medicare, which a lot of people kind of miss. The NDIS does have these transformative powers to give people what it is that they require. Interesting, when I was pre-selected, I had one of the journos say to me, he couldn't possibly be autistic, and I was asked to front New South Wales Labor head office with all of his medical files. So even right from back when I came in, people were doubting, his credibility as a person on the autism spectrum, because he has had so much intervention and so much work has gone into him over the last few years.
Well, Emma, we wish you luck. We'll see where this ends up, and you do hope that you can stay as a Labor member for Lindsay, but I guess it is out of your hands for now.
For now.